On November 22, 1963, thousands of people lined the streets of Dallas, waving flags and cheering as the young American president rode through the city in an open limousine. The day was bright and hopeful. The crowds were excited to see the charismatic leader who had inspired a generation with promises of a better future. But within seconds, that hopeful afternoon would turn into one of the darkest moments in American history. Gunshots suddenly echoed through the streets. Panic spread across the crowd. And the President of the United States, John F. Kennedy, slumped forward in his seat. The world had just witnessed a tragedy that would shock millions and change America forever. A young and popular president. John F. Kennedy, often called JFK, became the 35th President of the United States in 1961. At just 43 years old, he was one of the youngest presidents in American history. He inspired many Americans with his famous call to action: "Ask not what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country." During his presidency, Kennedy faced some of the most dangerous moments of the Cold War, including the Cuban Missile Crisis with the Soviet Union, which nearly brought the world to nuclear war. Despite the tensions of the time, Kennedy remained widely admired for his leadership, optimism, and vision. By 1963, he had already begun campaigning for re-election. The trip to Texas. In November 1963, President Kennedy traveled to Texas to strengthen political support before the upcoming 1964 election. On November 22, he arrived in Dallas with his wife, Jacqueline Kennedy Onassis. Thousands of excited supporters gathered to see them. The presidential motorcade drove slowly through downtown Dallas so people could get a closer look at the president and First Lady. The open-top limousine passed through a large plaza known as Dealey Plaza. No one in the cheering crowd knew that within moments, history was about to change. The shots that changed history. At 12:30 p.m., as the motorcade turned through Dealey Plaza, gunshots suddenly rang out. Witnesses heard 3 shots. President Kennedy was struck by bullets while sitting in the back seat of the limousine. Panic erupted. People screamed and ran for cover, unsure of where the shots had come from. The limousine immediately sped away toward Parkland Memorial Hospital. Doctors rushed to save the president's life, but the wounds were too severe. At 1 p.m., John F. Kennedy was officially pronounced dead. America had lost its president.
Hey guys, please subscribe
The
my
suspect.
channel, hit the like button.
Within hours, police arrested a suspect named Lee Harvey Oswald. Oswald, a former U.S. Marine, was accused of firing the shots from the 6th floor of the nearby Texas School Book Depository. But before he could stand trial, another shocking event occurred. 2 days later, while being transferred by police, Oswald was shot and killed on live television by nightclub owner Jack Ruby. The dramatic moment stunned the entire nation. Investigating the assassination. The U.S. government launched a major investigation called the Warren Commission. In 1964, the commission concluded that Lee Harvey Oswald acted alone in assassinating President Kennedy. However, many Americans were not convinced. Over the years, numerous theories and questions have continued to surround the assassination, making it one of the most debated events in modern history. A nation in mourning.
Hey guys,
After the
please
assassination,
subscribe my
the
channel,
United
hit
States
the
entered a
like button.
period of deep grief. Millions of people watched Kennedy's funeral on television. Leaders from around the world came to pay their respects. Vice President Lyndon B. Johnson was sworn in as president just hours after the tragedy. Kennedy was later buried at Arlington National Cemetery, where an eternal flame continues to burn in his memory. A moment that changed America. More than 60 years later, the assassination of John F. Kennedy remains one of the most shocking and unforgettable moments in American history. For those who lived through it, the memory is still vivid. The moment when a hopeful afternoon in Dallas suddenly turned into tragedy. Because on that day in 1963, America lost not only a president, but also a symbol of hope for an entire generation.